Hi everyone, welcome to Adventures with Raven and Rowley. I'm Raven and this is Rowley. For the previous 5 years, we've lived full-time in an RV, Class A and then a fifth wheel. Currently we live full-time in a converted 6x12 cargo trailer. Last week I talked about solar ovens versus solar cookers. This week I will talk about Thanksgiving since it's coming up, right? If you're curious, please join us on this journey and continue to watch. Thanksgiving is the first of the big eating days, that's BEDs, coming up next week. Last year I made a video of me cooking a camping Thanksgiving dinner. Used solar and the camp stove and, but Thanksgiving is not just about eating. It's about giving thanks. I want to tell you about things I give thanks for that resulted in my becoming a nomad. Some I consider downright miraculous, all are gratefully appreciated. Starting about 7 years ago, I came across HOWA, H-O-W-A, Homes on Wheels Alliance. I was in a bad way. We had a house, couldn't afford to pay for it anymore, was looking sometime down the road, probably at eviction, was tired of doing the same thing, trying to get by and never having enough, or just enough, from not even one paycheck to the other kind of thing. But anyway, so I came across Homes on Wheels Alliance. Bob Wells showed me a different, more affordable way to live. It looked to me probably much more enjoyable than what I was living in New Hampshire under snow. Granted, the spring and the fall were absolutely gorgeous, but they were fleeting and winter stayed a long time. Anyway, 5 years ago, after watching Homes on Wheels Alliance for a number of years, I jumped on the bandwagon and I learned as much as I could and I ran with it, absolutely ran with it. I gave up my house and moved into a 35-foot motorhome, Georgie boy. I'd never, ever driven anything that big before. And I actually went to YouTube University to learn how to drive it and what to look at. And it got me my 3,300 miles without me killing anybody, And tell you the truth, I really loved driving that. I was way above the crowd. You could see way ahead of you on the highway. It was just wonderful. Anyway, I was on the road to a new life. So, thank you, Bob Wells and HOWA, who taught me a new way to live. And I would encourage you, if you're looking for something different, you're stuck in the rut, whatever it is, check out their website. The link is below. Okay? Poop hit the fan about 4 years ago. And at that point, I bought this trailer. Okay. It was totally empty. I had bought a bed frame and a mattress, and so I moved into it figuring, okay, I'm going to move into this, I'm going to fix it up and go from there, Well, someone reported that I was living in a cargo trailer in the park. I really didn't realize that it was against the rules, and I didn't know enough to boondock. And my car was incapable of pulling this trailer. And the park gave me 10 days to move out. because cargo trailers are not allowed. Any self-built thing is not allowed. You can't go in there with a and sleep and live in your car, and you can't do that. It has to be an RV, has to have an RV certified manufacturer's tag on it to be able to live in the park. So I had 10 days. Joan and Russell gave me a chance. Bless you too. Okay. Because my car was a beater. I had been told by the mechanic not to go more than a mile out of town, and don't take it out of town. So Joan and Russell sold me their fifth wheels with monthly payments, no credit checks, no nothing. Just pay this amount and you're done. And no interest. It was just wonderful. And meanwhile, I could live in it while paying it off. They gave me stability, and they gave me time to learn. They gave me time, which was what was really most important at this time, what I needed the most. And it was during this very same time, with all of this upheaval about how to live, where to live, that kind of things, can I afford to live, I was getting gastric bypass surgery. I was over 300 pounds. And at one point, I really was. See, so my raven wings are valid, they're for a reason. So I had gastric bypass surgery, and at the same time, Rowley found me. I was visiting a friend, and he came up and licked my fingertips. I wasn't even paying attention to him, anything. And I think it was a love affair from that point, even though I didn't come back and collect him for another 6 months, But Rowley found me. So I want to thank, during that time, not only Joan and Russell, but Christine, Marianne, and Shelley, because they were there to take me to the hospital when I needed it. They were there, all of them. Thank you very much. Of course, there were people along the way. My daughters, for instance, my daughter Maria, for instance, she gave me the money to buy this cargo trailer when the fan got hit originally, before I got the fifth wheel, before I had the operation. She probably thought I was totally insane, but she gave me the cash, and I got it. And I proceeded to start to try and fix it up while I was in the park, and then realized I couldn't live there. I had to do something else. So the money went, although I bought the cargo trailer, the rest of the money went to down payment and whatnot on the fifth wheel and getting that installed and repaired and whatever. She also, later on, years later, gave me my refrigerator freezer when I first moved out here, just before I first moved out here, because I was really worried about Rowley. I was cooking Rowley's food for him, and I was still living in the park, but I was wondering how am I going to keep this? Maybe I'll buy a little freezer. So I started looking at little freezers, and she convinced me, listen, get what you need, get the refrigerator, get the freezer thing. It's a big bulky thing, but hey, it works. This is what you really need. And I had to concede and say, yes, this really is what I really need. So I got my little refrigerator. And then later on, she seems to turn up at the right times, Later on, when I was hooking up the solar, trying to keep the refrigerator going, trying to keep the swamp cooler going, trying to keep the computers and the phones and my exercise watch, which I don't wear anymore, and stuff like that. All that stuff, trying to keep the lights, everything charged, it just wasn't happening. It just wasn't it. There was something wrong with that solar controller. I had received the solar controller as a gift, but it really wasn't working. I was down to tears almost. And so she got me a new solar controller, which, as far as I was concerned, cost a small fortune, but I'm glad. I'm really glad, because I can use it to upgrade my homestead when I get to the homestead, when I start working on it. I have enough, that solar controller has enough ability for me to add more panels and more batteries, and it hasn't had a problem. Not a problem at all. And then there was my other daughter, Teresa. I've got more than two. But Teresa, she didn't just, but she sent cash. Usually as a surprise. You know, I'd go look at my bank account and there'd be money, you know, and say, oh my God, you know. And it always came right in on time for car repairs. This last time, new tires it came in on. I put some of it on the land, you know. It came in at the right time. So thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Maria. And Maria actually told me off because I didn't want to accept any of these really expensive gifts. You know, being the mother thing, oh, we can do this a little bit cheaper thing. And she hollered at me because they want to help and I'm refusing to let them. So I think I'm learning my lesson to accept help when I need it, you know. And I do need it. I did need it. Okay. And then there's Kim K. I just met Kim. I just happened to meet her. She was walking around in the park. Anyway, Kim turned up at the right time too. I had told everyone that I was not going out caravanning again without windows in this cargo trailer. The last caravan I went to, the last women's caravan I went to, was absolutely unbearable. It was freezing cold. The wind was going like crazy. I had no insulation in here except what was on the walls, nothing on the ceiling, and no windows. So if I had stayed with the caravan, I would have been totally inside a box with no light, no air. You know, I was paranoid. I can't do that. I have to have windows, you know. So I said, I'm not coming out there. You know, somewhere they're going to turn up. I went and I looked at demolition RVs to take out windows. Everything fell through. Everything wasn't working. You know, I just wasn't getting them. So anyway, I stayed at that caravan. When I went to that caravan, I stayed there for about an hour, and I turned around and came back, because I figured, why stay here for 2 weeks sitting inside a box? If I'm going to sit in a box, I might as well sit in a larger box, you know, in my RV. So that's why I went back home. Anyway, Kim donated windows. I was out here picking up garbage one day with the 𝗏𝗏 group who was cleaning up the desert, and she came up to me and we started talking, and she asked me what was the address of my wish and want list, and I showed it to her, and she was standing there and she was buying the windows right there. And I said, wait a minute, what are you doing? You know, why? You know, amazing. It was amazing. The windows, I think less than 10 days after the windows arrived and I had them installed, I was out here living in the desert. She also gave me the battle-born batteries. When I realized that I needed another battery to keep my solar running, to keep the refrigerator running and swamp cooler and, you know, all of that good stuff. So thank you, Kim. Thank you very much. And then there's 𝗥𝘃𝗄𝗏. I don't want to say his last name. cool dude. Taught me how to live in the desert during the summer because he was living out here. And he pointed out many of the animal dens and various flowers and the joy of living in the desert and just sitting out and staring at the mountains, you know. It's, right. He also turned up at the right time, you know. He gave me a 16-gallon water tank and then later on gave me a water pump, because at one point I had the tank and I had no idea how I'm going to fill it and unfill it, you know, with what equipment that I had at that time. But so he gave me the pump, which is really cool, because with that 16-gallon tank and the water pump, I had enough water available to keep the swamp cooler going, so that I didn't melt away in the desert sun in the summer that just passed, you know. When he left, he went back, moved into town eventually, but he left his rig out here for months to give people the impression that I was not alone up here, because during the summer, for 2 weeks during the summer, I was totally alone out here before Sandy showed up. And so having that trailer here gave the impression that there was at least 2 people up here on this mountain, you know, up on this plateau, which I was very, very grateful for. In fact, he just moved it out of here about 2 weeks ago, which is kind of cool. Anyway, thank you, Axe. Really, really thank you. Sandy H. Sandy H came and stayed. She was only going to stay for a couple of days, I suppose, a couple of weeks maybe, to keep me company after Axe left. And she's still here, which is kind of cool. So there's always at least the 2 of us up on this mountaintop, keeping in touch, you know, to keep ourselves, both of us, safe. And thank you, Sandy. And then there's Forest Wolf, which I've said many times, gave me a rocking chair. I'm telling you, I'm in love with that chair, okay? She gave me this rocking chair to enjoy the sunrises and the sunsets. Well, I bring it inside. I put my feet up. You know, it's like having an easy chair in the house. It's really cool. Really. And, you know, the funny thing is I had been sitting, I had it, you know, it was on my wish and want list, but I just couldn't get myself to spend the money to buy it, you know, and I kept sitting in my little $13 Walmart umbrella chair and saying to myself every single day how incredibly uncomfortable this is. You know, you really ought to spend the money. Well, you know, you got to do other things first. And this chair showed up. It just showed up in the mail. It just showed up in the mail. It was really cool, really cool. So thank you. So yes, I use it a lot and every day. And I do sit out and look at the sunsets and the sunrises and the rain and everything else, you know. So thank you, Forest Wolf. And there are a lot of people who sent Rowley and myself gifts of cash and small items here and there, you know, which I really, really appreciate, you know. As a result, Rowley has become more sociable, you know, being around different people. And there's a lot of people who stop by to visit, to check on me. And I thank all of you, really. Until I moved out here, I really kind of sort of felt alone. I wasn't lonely. There's a difference, you know. I just felt like I was in a void of some sort, you know. Nothing was happening, nothing was going on, you know, just nothing. You know? Now I don't feel that way. You people have, all of you have changed my life. You really have. Even those people I haven't met who comment and make some really, really good suggestions and whatnot. You really have changed my life. It's amazing. And for the better, too. So, for this Thanksgiving, I'm making homemade soup and skillet cornbread for dinner. Okay? I'm not cooking a huge meal like I did last time. although it really physically wasn't huge because I only used like a half a cup of string beans, you know, like that's what I cooked. But I really feel like a good hearty soup and a good crusty cornbread would do the trick for me this year. So that's what I'm doing, okay? I am blessed. I really am, and thank you very much. The Rowley Report. I want you to know that I'm sincerely thank you for Sir Rowley dog, my sweetie pie here, my handsome dude, right? He's a great guard dog and a friend. Now, okay, I know dogs can't be friends in the people friends kind of way, you know, but he's very concerned when I sneeze. He will get up all in my face and try and lick my face and you know, say, hey, I could just see him saying, are you okay? Is it okay? Are you fine? You know, that kind of thing. And he wants to be next to me. He's always wants to be next to me. So I let him. Hey, you know, I get to pet him, you know. He's soft and he's warm, you know. He's good under the covers. He helps me sleep when he gets under. In fact, he gets under the covers in the bed at night after I go to sleep. He'll wait until I go to sleep, or when I'm mostly asleep, and then he'll climb up underneath the covers. There is a problem with this, though. I mean, he pushes me to the edge of the bed, the edge of the fall off the bed edge, not the next to the wall edge, you know. So we kind of, we play this game, you know, or he'll lay across my knees or something like that, you know. He wants to take over the middle of the bed, really. I think that's really it. It's his bed and I'm in it and I need to get myself together, you know. And if he could, he'd eat my food too, with me, especially a Thanksgiving dinner. So we go through food things every day, you know, where he thinks I'm going to give him my food, and, you know, he only eats his because he's starving, you know. Although I think he's a little chunky for starving. Anyway, thanks for watching. And please subscribe and share, like, ring the bell, notification bell. And don't forget to check Show Me, click Show Me to see the links in the description below. And thanks for your support and your friendship. See you next Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Take care of you and yours. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you, and blessed be.